Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Chong Wei Chiang from the website of The Way to Miracles. Today, I will continue to delve into the birth of the universe and the truth about us. This video continues the theme of the previous video, so it is recommended that you watch them in order for better understanding. First, the previous video serves as the basis for a detailed account of your true home and what state the real you really exists in a realm of awareness that has no time nor space. There exists an eternal abstract life without beginning and without end. This life is also like an eternal state. Its attributes are formlessness, perfection, immutability, eternity, infinity, purity, wholeness, opulence, sanctity, unending, all-pervasive love, absence of opposition, pure oneness. If we want to replace this life with other terms, we can call it Lord, True God, or Perfect Creator, or Buddha Mind in Nirvana, or God in Paradise, or the Buddha's mind in the boundless Nirvana, or the God in Paradise. But no matter what term is used to refer to him, this life is your real home and your real creator, and the real you is just a perfect spirituality created by this eternal life, or I could call you a son of God, or a perfect creation, or a Buddha, or a spirit of Allah. Call it whatever you want anyway. Every religion has a different title, so for the sake of narration, I will just call this eternal being as Lord below, and call your truth as Lord spirituality. Then when you, the perfect spiritual being, are created by the Lord within him, you will be exactly like the Lord. Because the Lord only creates his children in his likeness, it is like in the human world, the dragon begets the dragon and the phoenix begets the phoenix. So when you, as a spiritual being, are created by the Lord, you will always be an unmanifest, perfect, unchanging, eternal, infinite, pure, complete, rich, divine, living, unending, all-encompassing holy love, non-oppositional, purely oneness spiritual being. And the moment you are created, you are forever one with the Lord, you live in the Lord lives in you, and you are not alone in the Lord, because the Lord, in addition to creating you, has joined hands with you to create an infinite number of perfect spiritual beings that are identical to you, a creation that is like a hot spring with an infinite number of drops of water that are also all one in the same way. This is the truth of all that you are. So why have you now forgotten this truth to the core? It all started after the Lord created you. When the Lord created you, you, the perfect spiritual being, were eternally experiencing the endless bliss within the Lord with all spiritual beings. However, at a certain moment when you were enjoying the bliss eternally, a small situation suddenly arose, and that situation was that at a certain moment, or rather in an insignificant 1/1,000,000th of a second, an insignificant thought appeared in you out of nowhere, and that thought was something like, what if I could develop on my own outside of the Lord? But because of this thought of yours, a heavenly change came about. The change is that while this thought appeared in your spirituality, you entered a state similar to the state of being lost in the human world, a state of being lost in thought that I think everyone has experienced. For example, when a student is in a class, listening to the class and then becoming lost in thought. Let's make an analogy. I was more of a soccer player when I was in school, and sometimes when I was listening to a lecture in class, a thought would pop into my head. What would it be like if I were to kick a soccer ball on the playground right now? Then I would go into a fantasy space, fantasizing about how I would kick the ball, cross, and shoot on the field. Sometimes my teacher would see that I was lost in thought and throw a chalk head in my face, and then I would realize that class was in session and I wasn't even playing soccer on the playground. Other times, because of the heat, I would wander off into the shade during class. I'm sure you've been there before, so I won't explain too much, but just a reminder, the key thing about being in a state of distraction is that no matter how distracted I am in class, I'm sure I haven't left the classroom. So also with this perfect spirituality, when a thought arises in you, what if I were to develop on my own outside of the Lord? You enter into a state of wandering, which first of all leads to a major change in your attributes. Your attributes are purely experiential and purely enjoyable, and you have been experiencing the bliss within the Lord. But when you went into a state of distraction because of that little thought, something new appeared in you out of nowhere, and that something was the formless consciousness, and the first cognizance that came out of that consciousness was, the feeling of bliss is not there anymore, and I'm not in the Lord anymore. It's like the example I just gave, where I wandered off to the playground to play soccer in the middle of class, and I instantly lost the feeling of being in the classroom for the lesson, and it's the same with the spirituality. Therefore, when the spiritual being enters the state of wandering and becomes conscious, the first split between the spiritual being and the Lord occurs. The first split. From a state of spirituality, you followed a little idea into a state of mind wandering and produced an imageless consciousness, and then you mistook yourself for being out of God. Then, after you become a conscious being, two opposing speculations arose within you this imageless consciousness. The first speculation was that my separation from God is only an illusion. The second speculation was that I'm really dissociated from the God, and I can develop on my own. These two speculations pitted against each other within the consciousness, and the consciousness had finally accepted the second one. This is the second split that reinforces the first split. Two opposing guesses are created within consciousness, and then you, the consciousness, recognize the second guess and make the decision to develop it yourself. But what happened next was more than you, the consciousness, could have expected, for although you had recognized that you were truly detached from within the Lord, at this moment you did not recognize anything else at all, for at this time the universe had not yet been born, and you knew and remembered only the existence of the Lord. Therefore, after you, the spiritual being, go into a state of wandering and mistakenly believe that you have become conscious, you are simply alone in a realm where there is no space or time. Then, during this period of your solitude, you constantly recalled the feelings of extreme bliss of living within the Lord, and you compared these feelings with your own self, who was alone at this time. After comparing them, you realized that all the experiences of extreme bliss and eternal security were gone. So at this point, the first feeling that you have never felt before arises within you, this formless, faceless consciousness, and that is the feeling of scarcity. Then, as the comparisons continue, the sense of lack within you grows and grows, so that in the end you have a fatal thought as a result of this great sense of lack. This thought is something like, look at what I have done to myself. The Lord loves me so much and takes care of me so much, but I have run away from him without a word. I have really done a great wrong. By now, superb sense of guilt and sin is experienced by you. And not only that, with this sense of guilt and sin, you, this formless and unseen consciousness, thinks again. Your untimely departure from the Lord is a form of absolute rebellion against the Lord, and that your untimely departure must also make the Lord immensely angry. Thus, the fear of retaliation and destruction by the Lord has arisen within you again. The situation is akin to the earthly. Someone has been taking special care of me, literally caring for me in every possible way, but I left him without saying a word. I failed him and completely offended him, and this same person is now bound to be furious beyond belief at my leaving without saying goodbye, so I can't afford to get caught by him. For if he catches me, he will surely screw me. Up to this point, when these great feelings of deprivation, guilt and fear above appear within you, this consciousness, you as this consciousness becomes the subconscious. The distinction between the subconscious mind and the conscious mind is such that when that spirituality within the Lord gives birth to an invisible and formless consciousness because of a small thought, this pure consciousness is called the conscious mind. But after this consciousness experiences scarcity, guilt and fear, this consciousness becomes subconscious. This is the definition and division between the conscious and the subconscious. So let's get back to the point. When this consciousness of yours becomes the subconscious mind, you are completely held back by great feelings of guilt, sin, and fear. And as these negative feelings increase, especially the great fear of being destroyed by the Lord, at some point you, the subconscious mind, is driven completely mad by these negative feelings. At this point, your maddened subconscious mind finally thought of running away, and you knew that in running away you had to accomplish the following two things. The first thing you have to do is to expel your inner guilt in the process of running away. Because all your fears come from the guilt within you, the only way you can live with peace of mind is to banish the guilt. It's as if people love to say that they are right and others are wrong when they are arguing, because they can only live with peace of mind if they blame others for their sins and mistakes. The second thing you have to do is to run away to a place where there is no Lord and where there cannot even be a shadow of the Lord. In this way, you can completely forget about the Lord and completely get rid of the fear of being hunted by the Lord. Just like that, when you have confirmed these two things, the earth-shattering escape drama, which is the Big Bang of the universe, is staged in an instant. And, in the process of the explosion of the universe, the following things happen simultaneously and synchronously. 1. At the moment you, as this subconsciousness, escaped, it designed a completely opposite world to the home of God out of nowhere, because only such a world could enable it to forget the angry God, only such a world could serve as the final destination of the subconsciousness. The characteristics of God's home are the unitary existence for all lives, imageless, perfect, changeless, eternal, infinite, pure, complete, rich, endlessly successive, purely unitary. The characteristics of the world designed by subconsciousness were the individual existence for all lives, image, peculiarity, change, time, restraint, complexity, separation, scarcity, death, binary opposition. Secondly, you, the subconscious mind, in accordance with the above qualities, have imagined or projected hundreds of billions of independent galaxies and an almost infinite number of independent bodies out of thin air in a single moment. At the same time, you push all your guilt into these galaxies and bodies, and the process of projecting galaxies and bodies is synchronized with the process of pushing sin into them. This process can also be understood in this way. The moment you, the subconscious mind, projected all the guilt within you, the guilt was directly transformed into hundreds of billions of separate and divided galaxies and an almost infinite number of bodies. And these galaxies and separate bodies happen to be the exact opposite of that oneness of the realm of the Lord. Third, while the subconscious mind projected all the galaxies and countless bodies, an even more crucial step occurred. That is, while he projected the galaxies and countless bodies, he also entered within a body that he had projected. This body was no different from any other body, but this body was the most crucial tool for the subconscious mind to get rid of the feeling of guilt. Because for an invisible and formless subconscious mind, there is no distinction between inner and outer. Therefore, no matter how he expels sin, as long as there is no outer, it is impossible to expel the inner from the outer. Because of this, it must utilize a body to completely divide the inner from the outer so that he can expel the inner guilt outwardly. That is why he enters a body. And the moment he enters a body, this formless subconsciousness becomes a new consciousness, the self-consciousness, and the first cognizance of the self-consciousness after it is born is, I am a new body, I am pure and sinless, within my body is called the inner, outside my body is called the outer, and I am living in a real universe. At this point, the subconscious mind has finally utilized a body bound with self-awareness to expel all the guilt within him. At the same time, all this guilt is transformed into a world that is the exact opposite of the realm of the Lord and stands just outside the body to which the self-consciousness is bound. This is the truth of the birth of the universe. Fourth, the birth of the universe also revolves around a central connotation, and this connotation is what the subconscious mind finally aims to achieve. After the birth of the universe and the self-consciousness, although the self-consciousness has forgotten that it was originally an invisible and formless subconsciousness, the invisible and formless subconsciousness has not disappeared because the subconsciousness at this time is only fused into the self-consciousness. Then, why does the subconscious mind merge with the self-consciousness? This is because at this time the self-consciousness has been bound to a body, and the body has 6 organs: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and brain. And these 6 organs correspond to the 6 categories in the universe: sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and thought. Sight can see tangible and colored objects. Hearing can hear various sounds. Smell can smell various odors. Taste can taste various flavors. Touch can experience different bodily sensations. And thought can analyze the various laws of nature in the universe and produce countless knowledge. For example, you know that a glass will break if you drop it on the ground, so you hold the glass tightly when you take it. This is a kind of knowledge that the mind corresponds to the Earth's gravitational force in physics, and the knowledge produced by the mind is attached to various natural laws in the universe all the time. Therefore, the subconscious mind has to utilize a body bound to the sense of self to corroborate the reality of the universe. In this way, the subconscious mind can confirm that it has escaped into a real world that is completely opposite to the home of the Lord. This is the fundamental reason why the subconscious mind has to merge with the self-consciousness. Or to put it another way, the birth of the universe was simply the subconscious mind transforming itself into a universe full of natural rules while transforming itself into a self-consciousness with a body. The subconscious then uses the interaction between these two sides to stamp out the reality of both sides. This is the most important core connotation of the birth of the universe. The above long exposition is the third split between you and God. Consciousness became subconsciousness because of great guilt and fear. From the angle of the subconscious, you projected the universe and a myriad of things of various forms and a nearly infinite number of bodies, and you also entered a body at the same time. The body was the current you, and you lived in a third split. Moreover, you were controlled by the subconsciousness. The destiny in the world represented the manipulation of the subconsciousness over you. All the above narration is all the truth about the world and you. These truths are also described in the human classical works. Yet the narration about the origination of the universe and Genesis in many human classical works are totally wrong. For some classical works recognize Creator to be perfect love, while stating that perfect love created human beings and the world. If you think about it carefully, it is impossible. Even the world cannot verify such an argument. Have you ever seen a dog give birth to a camel? Have you ever seen an elephant give birth to an ant? If the Creator is the perfect love and the primal existence, how can He know anything but the perfect love? And how can He create something He does not know? If the Creator is eternal, how can He create bodies that could die and decay? Perfect love can only produce perfect love. Perfect love must create His child after His own appearance. This is the inevitable truth. So the world you see is not created by God. The world was created by you alone after you, the spirit who had mistakenly thought it had left God. So the world and all your life experiences in the world has nothing to do with God, because your God has done nothing. I have illustrated the birth of the universe in the most orthodox language, in order to help you lay a strong foundation for learning. The followings are some common senses about the universe and life, which can also open a window for your mind. 1. First of all, I will talk about a piece of scientific common sense. It can prove that the universe is a masterpiece of subconsciousness. Scientists have already proved that the speed of light is 300,000 kilometers per second. If the universe exploded at the same speed as the speed of light, or the universe exploded at a speed lower than the speed of light, human beings will surely see the whole picture of the universe. But now human beings can't see it, which proves that the universe must explode much faster than light, so that human beings can't see the whole picture of the universe. Then, scientists have proven that it is impossible for a thing to have a speed higher than that of light to form a tangible and physical object. So scientists cannot now explain the form of the cosmic explosion, because the form of a cosmic explosion must conform to the following 2 points. 1. The universe must explode at a speed much higher than that of light. 2. It must form tangible and physical objects. There is, then, only one way to satisfy both of these, and that is the projection of phantasms or the imagery of thought, for this is the only form that can travel faster than the speed of light and can form tangible and colored objects. For example, if you now visualize the sun, your mind or thought immediately takes on the appearance of the sun. So the thought of the mind is faster than anything else and can also form imagery. But the sun doesn't reach you in an instant, because the speed of light travels for several minutes. This is why man has not yet been able to discover the universe in its entirety, because the universe was first visualized in a flash, and the light afterwards. Therefore, the creation of the universe is only a masterpiece created by the subconsciousness in an instant, but the masterpiece also includes your self-consciousness and your body, so it is difficult for your self-consciousness to perceive that the universe is just a sham image. The correct description of a cosmic explosion is, based on split, the subconsciousness projected all the galaxies at one stroke, and instantly designed the distance and mode of operation between them. Extend the above scientific common sense. The universe you see has boundaries. The universe was projected by your subconsciousness after you, the perfect spirit mistakenly thought you let God, and your guilt and fear reached their ultimate limit, so the universe's boundaries. The reason is simple. If fear had had no limits, the universe would not have appeared. Now that the universe had already appeared, which means that fear had limits. Thus, like fear, the universe had limits. It's just that the edge of the universe has not been seen by human beings, and beyond the tangible and physical universe is an endless void. So you just live in a limited, exceptionally big dream, and eventually you will wake up completely from this limited dreamland, because you are not a role in the dream. Dream is bound to have an end. Let me tell you briefly about birth and death in this world. When you see a baby being born, Do you think that the baby is guilty of any sin? Absolutely not. Because he is a brand new body, he is pure and sinless. So every person who comes into this world is bound to a baby's body, which expresses that he is a pure and sinless being. This model is a repeated simulation of the moment of the birth of the universe when the self-consciousness binds the body and acquires purity and innocence. The relative fact that everyone in the world will die is actually an aftereffect of the cosmic explosion because the subconscious mind suffers from guilt and the fear of being destroyed by the Lord before it projects the universe. So it became an inherent belief in the subconscious mind that sin can lead to destruction. Then, after the subconscious mind has projected sin into the universe and all beings, this belief that sin leads to destruction pervades all beings and is transformed into death on earth. For on earth, only death can erase all sin. This is the fundamental reason why all beings are not immune to death. It is also the reason why certain classics say that all human beings have original sin. But you must know this, only in dreams you die, that's all. I will now briefly describe samsara. If you believe in samsara, you can read this part. If you don't believe it, you can skip this part. I have just stated that the death of the human world is only a manifestation of the sins and destruction in the subconsciousness. That is, the subconsciousness itself carries the death of all beings. So the death of the body can't destroy the subconsciousness, and even the self-consciousness will not disappear because of the death of the body, because the subconsciousness has merged with the self-consciousness. So the death of the body is just an illusion for the self-consciousness and the subconsciousness. When death comes, you just seems to be dead because after you die, your subconsciousness will continue to manage your self-consciousness to bind a new non-physical soul. At that time, you are still controlled by the subconsciousness. And then you are going to enter a baby's body again and greet a new life. This new life has no difference from the last one, because this new life is just waiting for another death. This is samsara. But you are in samsara only in dreams. No matter how many times you are in samsara, it is only a continual dream. That's all. To sum up, you are just living in a dream controlled by the subconsciousness. You are just dreaming of space and time, dreaming that you were born on the earth, dreaming that you are a body, dreaming of your parents, dreaming of your name, dreaming of your primary school, dreaming of your marrying someone, dreaming of your life experiences, and then dreaming of your death, dreaming of becoming a soul after death, dreaming of becoming another person after the reincarnation. That's all. But most of all, the universe has been dreamed by you alone, and there is no one else outside you, including me, the narrator that you are dreaming of. Just I am reminding you now in your dream, you are dreaming. The above message is the last lesson of life, and the one you are destined to learn. And it gives you a clear idea of who you are and the sequence in which the world came into being. This gives you the opportunity to make new choices, because you have only one power of choice in this world. From now on, you may not believe in the way your subconsciousness appears and controls you. Starting with the next part, I will explain a few important thought patterns that are practical ways to break away from all your troubles and to end this dream. These patterns will also remarkably shorten the time you wake up from your dream. I will end with one more question that you might ask, which a lot of people are asking. Why do I, as a spirit within God's homestead, suddenly come up with a little idea? What's the reason for that? The answer to this question is that there was no cause nor consequence for that little idea that occurred to you as a spirit within the homestead of God. Since the idea itself represents illusion, and illusion represents non-existence and meaninglessness, no one can describe how a non-existent and meaningless empty thought is formed, because it is nothing. So the consciousness produced along with this little thought is also illusory, and the final products generated by that consciousness, the universe and the body bound to the self-consciousness, are also utterly illusory and non-existent. So you just live in an impossible situation. It is also a description of the world by a certain religion, called a world of ignorance, which means a delusional world created by a delusional idea without cause or consequence. The truth about the birth of the universe and you is shared today. There is still a lot of information to share today. So if you want to have a more in-depth understanding, you can go to the website below the video and browse through it. After all, words can enter minds much easier than speech. Finally, thanks for watching.